you. Okay. Can we first discuss my lack of stardom? Since from Chatterbox, no guest announced, but featuring me, no reservations. Yesterday, Raúl announced, sold out! I was going to be here. I was going to be here no matter what. No reservation. No, we're just asking. Okay. Pissing me off. Okay, anywho. Makes me feel amazing. Okay, Raúl, someone dropped off a card.
Oh, good.
It may open it, like it may blow up, maybe crazy stalker or something. Okay. I'm too scared to open it up and I don't want to die.
Powder in it?
Anthrax. Now I had this thing on before. Why did it go up? Hold on, just make sure. Wait, press the button. Who's the big mouth in the audience? Thank you. I pressed the button. Now I broke it. Oh, it's like a wire, right? Hold on. Okay, so here's a little clip. Raúl was just part of course, the hair concert. Guys, we are this close to getting a record deal. I mean, like, wow! And what's exciting is that Julie Andrews has agreed to sing the whole score. It'll be great. It'll be everybody from the show. Anywho, okay, so here's a little. I made a little mixtape of Raúl. Like, he came and like learned his song. I think it was like the day that the day of the press conference, we sort of learned it. Anyway, so this is like our sort of publicity event where we're like just learning the song, a little bit of publicity event, and then a bootleg of the show. Not that a bootleg exists, but a bootleg of the show. Equity calling you all the time. Okay, so here's the press conference. Not bad. I hope I'm in the right order.
That's the sits, bro.
That's actually, it's the chest that's broke. It's my signature tank top. Here we go. This is the press conference. Oh, before I forget, amazing B flat. Just so you know. Literally no effort. Here, you can pump up the volume as you're saying the digits. Segue to the actual event, which this is. Blocking Raúl.
What did I do?
Yeah, we're not approved.
Did I grab my balls? Cabaret, I think I finger. Yeah. Couldn't help myself.
That's okay.
No.
Don't forget. Definitely. We don't have body bites in the chat box yet.
Last time was here, what, 2 years ago?
What'd you say? Yeah, last time you were here was literally the night before you opened in Cabaret. Not cool. He literally showed up.
I was scared of set.
You were. You're amazing.
What have I gotten myself into?
That's true. You became best friends. Anywho, okay. So let's do a little background first. I know you're from Florida, and then you went to college.
Well, I was born in Wilmington, Delaware, and I grew up in Miami.
Oh, really?
My parents moved a lot, and then I went to college in New York.
And are you, like, what Hispanicness are you?
Cubanness.
Cubanos. And do you hablas español?
Sí, yo hablo español. Si quieres te canto una canción en español luego.
Okay. Lentamente en inglés.
I'll sing you songs in Spanish later.
Aww.
Yeah, so my first language is Spanish, and my grandmother raised me, and my mom worked, my dad worked, so my grandmother only spoke Spanish. Although for years I thought she couldn't understand English. I used to say all sorts of things. And it turned out, I remember I was like late teens already when I said something in English, and she went, you can imagine 15 years worth of betrayal.
Oh my god. Okay, so then you went to NYU?
I went to NYU. I studied at the Playwrights Horizon School.
For musical theater?
Studio. Honestly, I was I went to an all-boy Jesuit school.
Yes,
Very
tell me more.
Lots of
Action?
action. And we did have an audio-visual guy, priest, who was around the school
For the usual. Okay, yeah.
But that was it. That was all the action there was. So we didn't, the Jesuits, although they're very big on the humanities and stuff, they weren't very supportive of us having any kind of theater. And we put together a theater program. And now there is actually a huge theater program. They just built a massive 1,000-seat theater in my high school. And we had started out literally in a tiny concrete room. My Spanish teacher was the woman who came up with this idea of doing a night of Spanish theater. And we would do this. We did Lorca, and we did a lot of little short one-act plays, and would sing little songs or whatever. The priests were sort of completely against it. But by the time I graduated, we had a club that we had started that created arts and literature and photography and the humanities department, and there were over 100 members to that club by the time. It's still there, and they now built a theater. While I was doing that, I was chosen as a presidential scholar in the arts, which is about 6,000 students apply as seniors to this thing called the Arts Program, ARTS, Arts Recognition and Talent Search. And it was to compete for scholarships to college. And I wasn't sure I wanted to be an actor because the Jesuits were very much against. Like, I had to be a lawyer. That's what they wanted me to do. Or be the mayor of Miami, or be Fidel, because Castro went to my high school. But that's something to aspire to, not acting. And so I entered this competition. There were 6,000 people who entered, and I decided to sing a song because I always used to play guitar. And it's a little monologue, and I was chosen as one of 20 kids to get.
What was the song?
So it's in my book.
I love it.
Heroes from Three Guys Naked from
Beautiful. I love that song.
One of my favorite songs. And so I got this thing, and we did a week of this, and I was told that one, I would never, ever get accepted to any of the theater schools that they were representing. They took away the scholarship and said that I maybe deserved honorable mention, but I certainly was not about to get an award. That I could maybe be a director, because I just certainly was not good enough to be an actor professionally. And
did you shove your damn nomination out
I really hope they've been watching TV later.
Yeah, and the ABCs.
So what happened was I ended up applying to NYU on a sort of dare. I got a job in Miami at the Golden Grove Playhouse. So I was working professionally down in Miami, still sort of just finishing high school. And there was this stupid girl who got, she comes in and she's like, I auditioned for NYU today. I'm accepted. And NYU was one of the schools that one of the judges was from NYU. And I was like, if she can get in, I can get in. And I went and auditioned for NYU specifically because this girl had gotten in. So and then I was miserable. I spent all my time at NYU going, why am I here? Why did I come here?
What about Carnegie Mellon? You want to go there? Or
I didn't think it through. I literally went
because
I was told I
her?
couldn't go. Just
Okay.
to bust her, and because the guy from the from the...
NYU was a dick.
That's from NYU was a dick.
And now, how did you pay for me? Your parents paid for it?
My parents helped. A great deal.
And did you go all 4 years?
No, I did a double major with theater and English and a psychology minor because I was still thinking of going into law school. I was going to become a lawyer, international law or something.
Yeah.
I had applied to Columbia, Georgetown, Stanford, Amherst. That was where I was going to go, was Amherst, to study English and become an attorney.
Oh, well, thank God you took a different route.
You know who encouraged me? My parents were the ones who, probably because they lost so much leaving Cuba. I'm an only child and an only grandchild and an only nephew. And so it was a lot of pressure to sort of succeed at something. And I thought, I have to do something. Really, everybody in my family is an engineer. My father's a mechanical engineer with a degree in nuclear engineering from Oxford. My grandfather's a chemical engineer. He used to do sugarcane refinery work in Cuba with Che Guevara. And
Manny Patinkin?
Manny Patinkin. I told that story last time when I was here.
Did you make the same joke?
Yeah, I did. I may have told that story last time when I was here about my grandfather. But we'll get to that about Evita. But and so he was a chemical engineer. My uncle is an engineer. My other uncle is an engineer.
And Jonathan Price didn't become the engineer. It's like,
sex with cars. So I thought they're not going to support me becoming an actor, and they actually said maybe you should do this.
That's so
Life's
great.
too short. Maybe you should do this.
So many parents are so dickish about it. That's so great that they were so open about it.
But they wanted me to be a star. I mean, I went to school here, and then I went to Chicago, and yeah, I was getting like, my first job in Chicago was, I think I got $100 a week to be in the ensemble of The I Sing at the Remains Theater. It was the worst production I've ever been in my life. Partly because the Remains Theater, which used to be run by Billy Peterson, is now on CSI, and they're great people. Gary Cole, they'd never done a musical ever. And they didn't hire anybody who knew how to do musicals, and nobody who could do a Gershwin show either. And so none of us could tap, and nobody could really sing the material. And they had this modern idea, and then somebody saw it and
updating things like
it's like all about the election. It's 1992, and then somebody saw a rehearsal and said, "This is terrible. They're going to close the theater. We have to change it." So they went back to try to put it all back into the 30s, but they only got as far as the end of Act 1. Act 1 was all in the 30s, and Act 2 we came out with dog collars and nipple rings and like water guns, singing Gershwin. And we get to the big dance numbers like, you know, love, the sweet thing about country is this huge dance number. We're all like,
remember?
it was terrible. We one time came out on stage, and they hadn't told us it was an audience of, unfortunately, paraplegic children. I've not been told. This sounds terrible. We walked out on stage, and it was just indicative of the entire run, that we all came out on stage going, "Winter Green for President, ha ha!" And we look out, and the whole audience is going, the lead girl goes out and goes, "Oh my God!" So we run on stage.
She was scared?
My parents, this was not, that kind of show was not their idea. You know, why don't you try acting? And then they come see this and they're like, "What is this?"
What were you thinking?
My job, you know, Chicago, come see my show. What is this? And for years until I did Sunday in the Park with George, the show I did after that was I played Danny Cinco in Greece at the Drury Lane Opera King. It's sort of a cross between it's like a Rococo funeral parlor. The owner rides around in a little golf cart. Very old man, his little golf cart, and he rides around the lobby of the building going, "Hey, oh, you're in Greece, yeah, we're gonna have a good show."
Can you not walk, or is just weird?
He's just weird. He lives next to the rehearsal hall, so you're upstairs rehearsing, and he'll like look out.
She dance
So they liked Grease, and for years, Grease was the best thing I'd ever done until I did Sunday.
Wait, that was 10 years later. Oh my God!
Say, "What's your favorite show I've ever been in?" And Mom, Dad, Uncle, oh well, Grease.
Tick Tick Boom. They're like,
No, please. They came to see Tick Tick Boom, and my parents said, "Amy and Jerry were very good."
Passive aggressive support. Nice, I said.
I mean, I do. They are wonderful, but they wanted me to be a big star. They didn't buy this whole like working out Drury Lane Oakbrook. You know?
Yeah, apparently it was working. So, wait, you came to New York because you toured with Evita, right? Is that what you?
I got hired to do. I had only done plays after Grease was the last musical I did out there, and then I spent the next 8 years just doing plays. And in Chicago, it's the greatest because you can do plays in all kinds of little theaters or in big places. You're never going to make a lot of money, but you get a chance to work all the time, and you get a chance to play leads. Even like I got Zuko and I was non-acting. And so they were paying me very well.
So did Linda Blair, I think.
Yeah.
Anybody? Who's that?
And, it was just a great place to start a team. And I got my equity card at the Goodman Theater, and I just only did these wonderful new plays, new writers.
Chicago's a great city.
Kurt Vonnegut on an adaptation of Slaughterhouse Five. Just magical stuff. So just these plays that we were doing, and then Evita came along. And I think part of the appeal was one that I was Latin.
Oh, yeah.
Although this was the Latin authentic version of Evita they said they were casting, and how everybody was involved. But like, Natalie was Puerto Rican, Ray is Mexican, I'm Cuban. I don't know how that makes us more Argentine, but this is how they were saying it.
Yeah.
It's authentic. Yeah,
Sort of.
Sort of.
We speak Spanish.
And then they liked the idea that I had never done musicals, and I got cast in that.
And who was Natalie Toro? Was it
Natalie Toro was Ava. It was originally Donna Murphy, and then Donna. It was going to be Donna and Sean, and then something happened. It couldn't be Donna. Then it was Anita Nazario, who was the monk in Cape Man.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Yeah. Yeah, that was.
She was amazing. I rehearsed with her for like a week.
And then what happened?
Andrew didn't want the keys to be
Lowered?
Lowered.
Neither did Seth. That's outrageous.
So then that was scrapped, and then Natalie was outstanding.
He supports you. Yeah. Yeah. Because Natalie can belt that crap.
And Natalie was just outstanding.
She's fierce.
And Natalie had this fire to just get out there and see her.
She's disastrous. It's gonna be a bootleg out there. Okay, so then you come to New York, and then what? Rocky Horror was your first big break? Cornpole break?
Yeah, Evita finished in September, I guess, of 2009. And by the beginning, I came here for the millennium, like Times Square celebration, whatever. And then I spent like, I guess, yeah, I got Rocky Horror in July. That was my first job here.
How many auditions?
6 or 7. I know I had 7 for Evita. But you know, doing the tours, like it's the tree that falls in the forest. Nobody knows you were good on tour. It doesn't matter. They're like, oh yeah, who cares? I got here thinking, oh, I did a show, and you cast me out of New York. How principal I am. Nobody cares.
Did you have any day jobs?
Oh no, because I had saved up enough from the tour to take really well. So it was hard though. I got a place here, and we had furniture. I left Chicago, just sort of completely at a loss of what to do. And we got 2 wonderful things happening. My good friend Steven Schwartz was putting together the film of Geppetto for ABC, and I went out to LA to sing on that soundtrack. So it paid my bills, and I got to be in LA for a month, you know, from Chicago. And that was very healing. And I got a job at the Long Wharf with a great theater company called the Cornerstone Theater. They do a social theater thing where they'll hire 20 non-professionals, not actors, people in the community, and 10 professional actors, and then they'll adapt a classic play for the town there. It sounds crazy. It was like a Christmas pageant or something. But it was...
It's fun for you? No, it's fun for the people that are not.
It's not so much fun for the professionals at first.
Yeah.
And then suddenly these people from the town are up there singing songs or doing Brecht, and they're doing it to the best of their ability, and you just start sobbing in the wings. It's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen.
Oh.
Somehow the play comes together, and the whole town is excited because they're watching a show that's about themselves. It's really a beautiful thing. This company has done, they've done great things. They did a Prometheus Bound in Pittsburgh, and the Aeschylus play was done, they hired back the men who had been fired from a steel refinery that was abandoned to play the Greek chorus, to talk about the Greek fire and war to this town outside of Pittsburgh. They performed it in the steel mill.
So Pomonti.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy. It was an extraordinary experience. So that was very healing. And right after that, I got Rocky.
And that's what put you on the old map.
Rocky was...
Put you on my map. I'm like,
Put
who's
you on
busting that egg?
Who's
Who's busting that egg? Yeah, that was amazing.
I remember being so scared to audition for Rocky Horror because I've never done anything like that. I thought, oh, I can't do that. I can't put a ball cap on. I can't be a hunchback. And I was home, and Michelle said to me, my wife said, she goes, you don't want to do Rocky Horror, or are you afraid? I said, oh, I'm afraid. She said, well, you have to do it. So I kind of I sat in the living room in Miami because we were visiting my family, and I was like, oh, okay. And I stood on the sofa. And I pretended it was a little stage. and like pretended I was Riff Raff and did this little thing. And I was like trying to plan the audition, how I turn over my shoulder. And I just go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this all out. And I went to the audition room. It was Bernie Telsey's.
Pushed the couch in.
Pushed a chair over, actually. I put two chairs together and stood on that and turned around. And I remember, so I just remember Chris Ashley being like, oh, okay. Oh. Then they saw me for Frankenfurter for a while.
That would have been so fun,
So
too.
cool. So I was wandering around in high heels. And then we went back to Riff Raff, and I danced for Jerry a bit. And the biggest thing there was my agent at the time, Ellen Flack, who's now my manager. Ellen, she'd been waiting for me for like 3 years while I was in. She just was like, okay, when you get a chance, you'll come to New York. And if I ever got a job, it wasn't like, no, there's pilot season, you have to come to New York. She'd be like, great, do that. I remember getting Tom Stoppard's Arcadia. I did Arcadia up there. And she was like, you need to do that, you need to do that play. So she was patient, and she was really willing to sort of see some of these projects through. And then Bernie Telsey. Bernie had seen my work in Chicago, just believed in me. I say this joke all the time about him. There's a part for like a transvestite Brazilian dwarf. He'll call me. He'll be like, "Oh, good play." Anything you think that is impossible for me to be able to do, he'll go, "Okay, you can do it." It's his faith in me and his faith in the actors that he supports is so huge. To have a casting director like that on your side is massive. So he was like, "Yes, this guy is not anybody we know, and it's a Broadway show, and it's a lead, but he's good." And he just kept fighting and fighting. And Ellen put 2 cents in, and Chris liked what I did, and eventually I got it. But they took a big gamble. I mean, if you think about it.
Yeah,
those guys are all everybody in the cast. Was named Alice, Jared, Daphne, and they're all like Tony nominees and Tony winners. Tom, and this was major.
How come we never did Rent if Bernie Telsey let you do so much?
I never wanted to do Rent. Rent came out when I was...
Were you scared of doing Rent?
I was... The good Rent story is that I actually had auditioned for Michael Gregg in Chicago and was cast in there's a musical version of Faust by Randy Newman. One of the best damn things I've ever
Jerry
heard.
Scott did it.
I was cast in that production, and I didn't end up doing it because I got a second job at the same time. And yes, it was Kurt and Sherry and Ken Page and Aisha Haas and David Garrison and Michael Gregg directed it. It's one of the... There's no album, is there?
No, there's plenty of bootlegs now.
There's a concept album of it. Bonnie Raitt, James Cameron, all those people. Yeah, it's a great score. David Mamet rewrote the book. So I met Michael, and I ended up not doing this. I ended up taking a step with Goodman told me, "You'll never work here again, and now you'll never be in Rent." There's something. I'll never be in Rent? Yeah, he's the director of Rent, and now you'll never be in it. And I was like, okay. Didn't know I was auditioning for Rent. So I thought I was auditioning for Faust.
But they cut you. Did you audition for the movie of Rent?
I did, for Spike Lee.
And how was that?
Screen tested and everything.
For Mark?
For Mark with Justin Timberlake for Roger.
How cute was he?
He had just shaved his head.
Okay.
Yeah. I felt a little old.
What did you have to do?
I did some scenes. The script was amazing.
So they had a script with songs? Wasn't all songs?
Spike Lee wrote a script. It was bloody and bright and dark, and you got to see April kill herself, and you got to watch Mark dealing with his photography and Mimi stripping and Roger in rehab, and it was so dirty and hot and totally Rent. You were just like, yes, these people are dirty, wonderful, suffering. That's what the show is about. And it was Miramax. Funding. And there were some great people up for it.
Audra's up for it.
Audra, for Joanne, Orfeh.
Oh my God.
Marine for a while. I was right in the middle of Tick Tick Boom, and it was such a cool thing to be. I think I went in like 4 times, and Spike had because I'd never done Rent, that sort of was appealing to him.
But yeah, he was very big on
It's
that.
coming back around. I think it's Columbus is gonna.
Shut up.
Is it an ice cream headache or what? From Spike to Chris Columbus, I think Spike's vision of it was much closer to John's.
I can't.
You know what I want to do is I want to do before I get too old, I think like a sort of like high digital high definition digital film of Tick Tick Boom. I do like a guerrilla.
Showtime is filming musicals now. Showtime just did Reefer Madness. They're trying to do
We should look at Tick Tick Boom. I think like David Auburn to write a screenplay and do it with Sherry and Amy.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
I think.
And Amy just did Reefer Madness. It's all connected. She did the movie of it.
One of the most talented people in the world.
And also very beautiful. Okay, so Taboo, go. Just give me your song from the beginning, bitch. I mean, the whole
What do you want me to
negotiations,
say
the
about
phone messages, go.
What don't you know?
Well, I just
know an awful lot.
I just want to talk the Broadway's version, so I want to hear the real. I know Michael Riedel's version and talk about Broadway's version. So how did you audition, first of all? Did someone
I
call
did
you?
not audition for Taboo.
You just offered it?
I was just
Based on what?
Based on there
Like, what
was
is this,
Bernie was putting together a reading of the show, and I was doing comedians, and they needed somebody. And Bernie, they put together this reading, and Chris Renshaw called and said, "This is kind of a fun thing." And I was like, "I don't want it." And then sent me that music, and I heard "Stranger in This World," and I went, "Oh my god, this is amazing."
That's you his first song?
That's his first song.
Yeah, he sounds beautiful.
I just went, this is great music. So I went to do the reading. The reading was, they were just feeling their way through, and it was a mess. It was just a
You
disaster.
talking about the show on Broadway or the reading?
The show probably was a mess too. The reading was
Sorry, Rosie, I know you tell me about this. Go on.
She'll be the first person to tell you everything that went wrong, actually. So Ro came and she saw that reading, and she's like, okay, we need to like start from scratch again. We came back to, they asked me to come back to reading back too. And by then I was doing a show called The King Body. And so we went to do this reading, and it had just like shot through the roof. It just sounded so great. But again, nobody was singing or anything. And after that reading, I was offered the show. And I turned it down. I wanted to. But Rosie doesn't like to hear no.
She's not very fond of that.
And you know the thing about her though is she is so incredibly passionate
Yeah,
about
exactly.
what she wants. And she is so clear about what she wants. And there's a reason she believes in you. And she only sees that.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets sort of contagious. You're sort of like, yeah.
I am amazing.
Well, I am. Yes, you have to hire me. Please hire me. After you've been like, no, I don't want to. No, I really want this job. Oh my God, I'm so lucky to be. What have I done? And that's essentially what happened. Is like, oh come on. Like, I was doing Green Violet, and they called up, and they're like, Rosie doesn't want to hear no. She's so distraught that you're saying no. She made a painting.
What does that have to do with it?
She painted
I know,
about her
but-
grief. And
Oh,
so I
I
have a
see.
painting of me walking away from her. She goes, she's like, we have to get together. We'll work this out. You know, to have breakfast. And she's this extraordinary explosion of like generosity and goodwill and excitement about what she
Yeah,
believes in.
yeah.
That you sort of sit there going, yeah, this is great. This is all going to work out. And actually, I had a meeting with George, and it was all just incredibly positive. Some things went wrong in the middle of it, in terms of negotiating stuff. Some things went sourly wrong. That has nothing to do with me. That's why I have agents. People get bitchy and mean and whatever. That's why I hire.
Yeah.
I actually had somebody once tell me when Ellen was negotiating the contract, the general manager said, "Your agents are mean," and I was like, "Good." So I don't have to be.
Yeah, exactly. Be scared of them.
There were some issues there that kind of went wrong, but when everything sort of came together, Rosie could not have been more generous in regards to her terms and what she was offering and where we expected the show to go. We did a workshop at that show at the Duke, and I thought, this is such a this is a hit. It was, the music was slightly different, and we ended up with Pie in the Sky at the time, which is, I think, a tremendous song. And there was the writing in the book was just so sharp. It needed
Was Charles working on it then?
Charles was. The problem with Taboo is that there's things that there are scenes that got cut from the show that would have connected things
Yeah.
together. That it's a shame that they went away, and it happens that you make decisions during tech or previews for a show, and you're not even aware you're making them. And you're aware you're making the decision, but you're not aware that this decision over here is going to change that over there 2 hours later in the show. Oh, cut this bit because it's going too long. That means that if we cut that, then this scene doesn't make sense. Well, then just cut that scene.
Oh my
We're running too
God.
long. And that's what started to happen. In an effort to fix start to get a little sort of myopic. And you miss the fact that the whole thing is shifting direction very slowly and spinning away from you. And also Rosie's going through that trial. Which because you're in tech and all you think is my show, my musical has to work, and oh my God. And then Rosie's coming in going, they are trying to take everything I have ever earned from me.
It's crazy.
And this show has got to work. So there's we're not seeing that. We're only up on stage going, the show doesn't work. Fix it, change it, cut this. It's all about, why aren't you paying attention to us? While she's out there going, they're trying to take over $100 million from my life.
God.
Every day. And then
Doing tech rehearsals.
So, yeah, I mean, I simply won't tell tales out of school about the show because it did get ugly and it got publicity that it didn't deserve. I think Riedel is a bottom feeding pig.
Oh no, that I could too.
He wants to be Walter Winchell without New York ever. New York is no longer the world that it was when Marilyn Monroe and Arthur Miller were out of town. And it's not the Walter Winchell world. I understand what he's writing. It does get people interested in following these shows, but what happens is that he causes so much extraordinary personal damage inside the show that it's very hard to recover from. His attack on Bernadette, for instance, caused actual damage to these people. That's not his intention. I don't think so. I don't actually know him. I've never met him. He was incredibly supportive of me during Ted Take Home. He's going after the news, the juicy tidbit.
Right.
It's exciting to read about,
To sell that.
but it begins to cause such incredible lack of self-confidence. And what started to happen with us is, yes, I did blow up. Yes, I did scream. Yes, I shouted at Rosie. Okay. But it extended into this nonsense over the course of the month. And everything about the show being under a microscope. You couldn't make a mistake without people saying the show's in trouble. There was this pressure to open on that day and not change a thing, because otherwise, we haven't accomplished what we set out to
You had no
accomplish.
out-of-town tryout.
No out-of-town tryout for a new Broadway show. And then the internet is another thing, because people will come see the show and they think they're being supportive, but they will go online and they will write and they will criticize you. They will criticize the show, and they think that we don't read that and it doesn't hurt. They're completely mistaken. It's so unbelievably damaging because you're in a place where you're trying to figure something out and you're trying to put it out there, and it's the most personal possible expression you can find, and you know it's not right, but you don't need at that point for somebody to come along and say that's ugly and that's shit and I could care less. And what's happened is that because the internet speeds that news so fast, and everybody starts to go, oh, I hear it's bad.
Right.
And maybe one person thought it was bad. The criticism is valid. It just comes so early that you can't recover from it. And I think there's got to be a way to sort of feel your way through that. Ro and I fought when after a full month of scenes being cut and numbers being cut and things being changed on a daily basis, and the show spiraling out of control. At one point there were like 7 people in charge.
That's a problem. It's not one person.
You would be on stage and there'd be someone coming up from the audience, from one of the creative staff going,
Oh
and they go
my
away.
God.
And Charles comes up and goes, why are you doing that? And he goes away. And you're like, yeah, Charles is right. And then somebody else comes up and goes, do it this way. Like, wait. Who's calling the shots here?
Who was calling the shots? Was Rosie in the job? Sort of Rosie.
She wasn't there all day.
Oh God, what a headache.
Ultimately, she feels like, I know she says that she feels like she learned a great deal about how much to be involved, what not to be involved.
She thinks it was a great experience, she always says.
And ultimately, what I'm left with from Taboo is only the very best of it. It's true that tempers were frayed, but there was a performance. It was in the middle of a performance on I remember it was a Friday night before we opened, and I was in the alley between the Plymouth Theater and the Broadhurst. And I don't know if any of you have ever been back into those spaces, but the Broadway theaters are all interconnected. So when you go into Plymouth Theater, you can go out the back from the Plymouth Theater and you're walking into the Broadhurst Theater, onto the stage. And so you can watch shows going on at the Broadhurst while you're performing at Plymouth. If you turn a corner, you can go and watch what's going on at the booth. And you go up the flight of stairs, you're now watching the Schubert. And so you're watching Gypsy at the time. And I was standing back there, and Never Gonna Dance was going, and the crowd was screaming about something in Taboo. And I could hear sort of the jazz trumpeting from Gypsy, and I just thought, I am the luckiest man in the world. I just have to remember where I am. And I just have to appreciate this. And the cast, we got along so well. And loved each other so much. And I just think George is such a beautiful soul. And that was all that was left. It was just a really great thing. It's a wonderful show that people loved and great music to do. So all the other stuff just kind of went away. And now, I mean, how could I dare complain? I have a drama desk and a Tony nomination. It's kind of like, what could I possibly complain about? All I hold on to is that Friday night, just standing there and going, look at where I am. This is like a miracle. This is amazing. And it doesn't ever really go away. I know that sounds so hokey, but I tend to walk through Schubert Alley on my way to work. Because, and that's something that Jared Emmett once said to me during Rocky. He's like, man, you walk through Schubert Alley. Because you'll appreciate it. It's totally right, because you kind of go, look at all these people, and they're all walking into these buildings, and at 8:05, everybody's going to tell a different story, and we're all doing this together. And we're all, and the fans for a show like Taboo, you feel like you're being embraced. You just feel like to walk out there and see, yeah, the theater may be empty. You go moose hunting upstairs. You could like shoot fish. But you look down and there's these faces looking up at you like, well, we're here. And we're like, okay, we're all in this together. And you feel like, okay, we're supported and there's so much love pouring back at you. How can you not feel blessed? You know? Plus, I really do believe it's, to me, it's the finest score of the last season. I really think it's the best music that was written.
A lot of people loved it.
There was some quality there too.
I guess it worked out for you.
Yeah,
Long time.
and I'm proud of my crazy performance.
Your drag queen performance?
My drag queen performance. It was vaguely psychotic, but I saw a non-existent bootleg the other day. I was like, oh wow, that's really big.
It's not for film. It's not for film.
I read a review. I don't really read reviews, but after the fact, I like to check things out. And there was a review online for like MSNBC that said the only misstep in the whole show is Raúl Esparza, who said something like massages the English language into incomprehensibility. So I was watching and going, yeah, I can't understand anything I'm saying.
The style, the right style.
It kind of fell up a little bit. And then that becomes contagious. You're like, I just want to talk to everyone at this. Just walking the streets of New York. Like, what?
Davis. Alright, I found some video clips to embarrass you, so...
Oh no.
Oh yes.
Betty Davis was Rocky Horror. During Rocky Horror, we used to challenge each other to see who could come up with a particular film star to imitate that night.
And you would
And I would come on stage and go, Frankenfurter, your time is... Say goodbye to all this. And Helen to oblivion. What are you doing?
Is this super easy? First of all, this is way too
You're going to show clips, and I brought my old audition book.
Yeah, you really brought an old
I brought my
book.
He goes, you want to sing something? I said, sure. And then I couldn't figure out what, so I brought my old audition book.
Isn't that
It's
adorable?
full of songs that I haven't looked at in 100 years. And I'll
Do them all.
tell you. They're all night. Ooh, chess.
Let me show the right thing.
That's the beginning, dude.
Okay, I know, dude. Okay, this, I have things that are positive and things that are very hostile.
Oh no.
Okay, I think the first thing, hold on. There it goes. Okay, the first thing is, this is Nobody's on Nobody's Side reprise. Now, for some reason, even though Raúl is directly in front of me, he's the only one who doesn't notice the cutoff. So just so you know, there I am, there's Raúl, everybody else in front of me, and they're all together, but some, you couldn't see me. Good job.
deep break that every time you walked out, you felt extreme power. You're like,
All right, now here's Raúl sounding amazing on a B flat, which is huge. B flat and then A flat. Amazing placement. Bravo. Thank you. B flat to A flat.
This is the first musical I ever heard an album of, was Chess. I had a girlfriend in California who
Did you
loved this
version?
and Evita. Whatever the
Elaine Page version?
Elaine Page version.
I'm not talking about Elaine.
But I heard that in the car and I heard Evita in the car.
Okay, here's Raúl's beat numbers for fun. It's sort of, it's Monster Gets Dragged Me. Not this.
At the start. On behalf of all our sponsors, I must welcome you, which I do. As a catch.
Oh my god. It's like watching a horror movie.
Me. I am the sin of holding what I know is not black or white. As you'll see, I'm on the case. Get me.
Cool to signal the orchestra.
Here's all the rules.
That's sad.
Oh, I'm the orator and I know best.
That's right.
Good for you. But there's no gambit. I don't see through. Oh, I'm the orator, I know the score. That's where I wanna be watching us. 61. I'm on the case. Every rule. Any picture is all the rule. Oh, I'm the orator, and I know best.
You don't want to watch this skill.
For you, but there's no gambit. I don't see through. Oh, I'm the arbiter of the score. Folks swear I'll be watching us. 61. Oh, I'm the arbiter of the score. Folks swear I'll be watching us. 61.
Glasses.
I did, just because I remembered listening to it in the car and being like, I'm doing chess! Oh my god!
That's what it's about. So now, I think this is the most. I think I have two. Okay, here's us. Okay, so what happens is, this is during the Cisco and Raúl was being very funny because he makes a line about something the Queen. Just talking about the Queen that invented chess. Yeah, exactly. They're awful. It was something about a queen, so as I'm conducting, I was like, what are you calling a queen? We're doing this probe, and I thought I was being funny, and then Raúl got to sass me, and it all backfired on me.
That didn't show.
They go, what are you calling a queen? And I was just like, you bitch. I'm right in front of you. Don't sass me again.
We glanced at each other on stage then when I went to sing that.
I know, I was like, I'm gonna kick your ass. You add that to the story.
My favorite lyric in that is, my mother cried for no one who likes their offspring fighting to the death.
Some people don't. It's like 51, 49.
What was it? It was that there's a verse in the Arborist song that we found after the fact that Julia had to tape up, like the whole video. You've seen that, the video, like MTV version.
Oh yeah,
all the
awful.
songs. It's horrible. But there's a thing where he's talking about like Bobby Fischer, all the different people. They all sat at his table. He says they all thought they were the big fromage. That's how we can get that into the show. We have to say big fromage.
It's So here's what are those things like for you? Because there's so much high pressure for me to do these things in one night, but you always seem so well. He did the chest contra and the hair contra this year.
I get terrible stage fright. I really do.
You do?
Yeah, terrible stage fright.
Anybody notice anything in those videos?
I don't know. I heard once Liza Minnelli say that if you don't get stage fright, something's wrong, so I assume it's a good thing. Yeah, I do. I get terrible stage fright. I was feeling sick to my stomach on Monday night.
Really?
Yeah, and my heart goes up. I feel like I'm going to die. I feel like I'll go out of it.
Was it easier doing chest because you were in the whole thing, or was it hair because it was one big number?
Hair because it's just the one big number is hard. But that's scarier actually, because and then you're done with the number and you're like, nothing to do now. Wow, rush! Now you're gonna go up and down the stairs. I went to find Adam. I'm like, let's walk. Yeah, he was done too. I'm like, let's walk up and down the stairs. Where's Gavin? Let's walk up and down. Let's listen to Julia.
Which one did you enjoy doing more, chest or hair, just show-wise?
Chest. Just because it's
You do the chest so well.
reasons, and I love it. And also, to see Julia up there, I've known Julia for 11 years, and to see her up the same Florence was one of those total highlights.
Man, she was amazing.
And she's just phenomenal.
Yeah, so you're doing her is amazing.
And to see her do that, I was just like, oh my god, I can't believe we're here. But, so chess was, it had more of a through line and that was fun, but I think I cared about it more. So I was probably even, just as nervous as I was just with the one number. But I find these things, they're an incredible amount of fun to do. Not just because of the fans who are there, but because the whole Broadway community is out there. And because I keep thinking back to that Dreamgirls concert, which to me was such a seminal event after September 11th. That Dreamgirls concert
It was literally like 10 days after.
We really needed that.
Yeah, and it didn't even feel like it was 10 days after September 11th, but it was. I mean,
was.
It's so weird. It just seemed like because every day was so long in that period that it felt like it was weeks later. But I think about it, like, oh my god.
There were friends that I hadn't seen, very good friends who I worked with in Chicago and stuff, who had lost family members and stuff, and we didn't all see each other until that night at the Dreamgirls concert. And Stokes, I remember said something like, we're all here, and then you guys started, and I had never heard Dreamgirls before.
Oh my god. So I was passed out.
I couldn't believe it. Great, it's like a perfect show. And we just all needed it. We really needed that night. So to be part of Chess last year, I feel like it's an honor to do these things because that was just such an excellent evening, and you want to aspire to that. And it really reminds you why you're part of Broadway and what the community's like. I feel like, yeah, we're all in this together. And it's everybody. It's because theater's not just the actors, it's the people.
Oh yeah, the audience is
it's
so part of it in
everything.
these
We all do this
concerts.
together. And so I love it, but I feel an awful lot of pressure to do it right.
Yeah, but you're always on your gig. He's always something to memorize, always belting full out, never marks. All right, get on that audition book. Go.
All right, well, we can a good 16 bar. Actually, I don't think I ever had any 16 bar tunes.
Really?
Let's see what I have. It's a big book. It's huge. What's that? Sheridan Square. No, I'm not going to sing it. Sheridan Square is the last song Howard Ashman wrote, but I'm not going to sing that because it's depressing. What do you hear us? Defying Gravity in my key. Since miscast. I'm glad you hear us. Here, that was my audition song used to be Shameless, and now it's in Moving Out, so everybody's singing the damn thing. It's in there too. All right, which one first? Let's Heroes first. Heroes a little lower. Shameless. You want to hear Shameless? Shameless is short. Which one do you want? Heroes, Defying Gravity? We're going to sing everything. Mama, a Rainbow. What is that? A Lonely House. Yeah, of course I sing Lonely House.
Welcome in. A monologue from Normal Heart.
A monologue. What an angry. Wouldn't you like to be on Broadway? That's a good sign. Now, what are we doing?
Lonely House.
Lonely House?
After the sunset. It'll be fun. Trust me.
I have to watch over your shoulder here. Kurt Vile, okay. This is not what you got money here. At all. I'm going to stand over here. I have to look over your shoulder. At night, when everything is quiet, this old house seems to breathe a sigh. Sometimes I hear a neighbor snoring. Sometimes I hear a baby cry. Sometimes I hear a staircase creaking. Sometimes a distant telephone. And the quiet settles down again. The house and I are all alone. Lonely house, lonely me, thumped with so many neighbors. How lonely it can be. Oh, lonely street, lonely town. It's funny, you can be so lonely with all these folks around. I guess it must be something I don't comprehend. Sparrows have companions, even stray dogs find a friend. The night for me is not romantic. Unhook the stars and take them down. I'm lonely in these This is from a show called Street Scene. Street Scene is a Kurt Weill musical written with Langston Hughes.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much an opera. I mean, that's probably the most glorious song from it. But
yeah,
the woman
sure
has
is.
some great stuff.
Hey, can we get some water? It's coming.
It's coming.
Oh.
You haven't touched this? Okay. Wait, I have some seltzer water. I'm good. Thank you.
We have seltzer. Alright, we'll do Heroes next. This is so much fun.
This is a song. Okay, so this is a song I did for the arts thing that I didn't get. This is what I didn't get a scholarship with. This is what I sucked at. This is from Three Guys Naked from the Waist Down by Michael Rupert. Here it is. I may fuck up a little too. Shop after me. A lot slow.
Maybe that's what you get.
Slow down. Let's do this in college too. When I was a little kid, Robin Hood patrols, feet's too brave and daring to believe. And in the dark of read word of marks and mountains say your world must change through harsh and violent means. I sat before my TV set and watched my heroes die. I read the rags and papers showing proof my heroes lie. With early death, their only wreath to pass through heaven's door. I see their contradictions, and I don't believe in heroes anymore. Oh, to be just naive, to live in a dream, to have something to believe. Oh, why can't life be clean, to just wait for the team? It's not as simple as it seems. When I left the college scene, we'd made our peace out in the east, scratched the countless dead unpolished walls. And now I hear the country cry, the good old days when flags were raised and God was on our side against them all. I wonder why the heroes we clamor for are men from past romance. The heroes we gather for perform a puppet's dance. We're fools if we can't see the fools who fooled us all before. Except when I read books and dream, I don't believe in heroes. I sang Defying Gravity when I was cast. I actually have a copy of As Long As You're Mine in there that's Stephen, in Stephen's handwriting, because he had just started writing the show. Pippin! Everything has its season. Oh wait, no, it's in my key, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't sung this before since that night.
You guys know the song better than I do.
Something has changed within me. Something is not the same. I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game. Too late for second guessing. Too late to go back to sleep. It's time to trust my instincts. Close my eyes and believe. It's time to try to find gravity. I think I'll try to find gravity, and you can't pull me down. I'm through accepting limits, because someone says the so. Some things I cannot do. If I try, I'll never know. Too long I've been afraid of losing love. I guess I'm lost. Well, if that's love, it comes much too high a cost. I'd sooner try defying gravity. Oh no. Goodbye, defying gravity. And you can't pull me down.
Tell them how I am defying gravity. I'm flying high, defying gravity, and soon I'll match them in renown. And nobody in all the forest, there is one guy who's ever gonna bring me down.
Rose like, I'm not comfortable doing cabaret. I'm not comfortable. Literally 3 songs in a row, standing on my bench. More! You are busted. You do your own fucking act at Joe's Club. Raúl, any shows coming up we should know about? Everything's a big fat secret.
Everything's a big fat secret. I know.
But he has a lot of things possibly
A lot of
coming
things
up.
possibly, but nothing's done. None of the contracts are done, so I can't talk about
You
it.
can't reveal until this is Flack. That's her.
Until she says I can.
Until Roberta Flack does it. Okay, next week I don't book, so of course, no reservations.
What I'll do, I'll come back and we'll sing songs out of my audition.
Yeah, look at all the books. Yeah, so guys, we have no guests next week. Rose coming back. That's it. So guys, buy the video, go to the website to buy it, and help thank the unbelievably nice, crazy, talented, and so cute Raúl Esparza.